English by the Nature Method by Arthur M. Jensen. Brought to you by Ayan Academy.
Chapter 35 Parliament. One morning, the hotel keeper came in to have a word with our 4 travelers. "I hope you are enjoying yourselves in London," he said. "Mr. Miller: We are having a lovely time, thank you." Wood: "Yes, we have enjoyed ourselves very much all the time we have been here, and we have seen a lot of things. Now we wish to see the King and Queen, but how is that done?" Hotel keeper: "That will be very difficult just now, because the King and Queen are spending part of the summer at Balmoral Castle in Scotland, a castle situated in a very beautiful part of the country, where the King and Queen spend some of their time every year. Many travelers who come to England wish to see the King and Queen. Speaking for myself, I have never seen the present king. The only time I have seen a king was when I went to see George V, who was the father of our present king, George VI. The real reason why I went was not so much to see the king himself as to see the horses which drew his carriage, and also the many men in uniforms. His carriage was drawn by 8 horses, and after it came a long row of men in fine uniforms. I know that people say that the English are very interested in the King and Queen and speak of nothing else, but nearly every week, when I look at the pictures in foreign papers, I notice that people everywhere go to see the different kings and queens, and if a country has no king, then I see pictures of people that go to see the president. So I think that people in other countries are just as interested in these things as we English are. You only have to think of the King's visit to President Roosevelt of the United States in the spring of 1939. Although the King and Queen are not staying in London, our 4 friends went to look at Buckingham Palace. Mr. Miller: As you see, it is built of grey stone. How do you like it? Wood: Well, I don't think there is anything unusual about it. It looks like all other palaces. Storm: I have heard so much about Buckingham Palace that I thought that the place where the King and Queen of England lived must be a very unusual building, but I like many of our palaces at home better. From Buckingham Palace they walked through a park to the Houses of Parliament. Mr. Miller: Here you see the building where Parliament, that is, the men who are chosen by the people to decide what is best for the country, comes together. Altogether, there are between 1,300 and 1,400 people who sit in Parliament, or are members of the 2 Houses of Parliament. Of these members, 640 are chosen by the people. They make up one of the 2 parts of Parliament, and are called the House of Commons. The other part, the House of Lords, has about 750 members, made up of men who are the heads of either very old or very rich families. Since old times, such men have had the right to be members of the House of Lords. The 2 houses together make up Parliament. The British Parliament is the oldest in the world. It is so old that nobody really knows when it first started. Storm: The building where Parliament sits is a very old one too, isn't it? Mr. Miller: No. Most people think that the building must be very old, but it is only about 100 years old. It was built from 1840 to 1852. As it was Saturday, they were allowed to go in and look at the whole building, including the hall where the House of Commons comes together. It is the only day that people are allowed to go almost everywhere inside, Mr. Miller explained. On all other days, they do not allow people to go round everywhere. Storm, Wood, and Brown were very surprised at the smallness of some of the rooms. They first went to the House of Lords. Brown: "This place looks very small. There cannot be room for 750 people here." Mr. Miller, laughing: "That does not matter, because it would be very unusual if more than 1/3 or 1/2 of the members were present at the same time. Usually, only about 100 of the members are present, so you see it does not matter much that the room is small. I must tell you, however, that after the Germans were over London between 1940 and 1945, many buildings, including the House of Commons, cannot be used. At the present time, this hall is used by the members of the House of Commons. The members of the House of Lords come together in another hall. We will now go and look at the place where the House of Commons was situated." When they got there, Mr. Miller continued to explain. "You see that this room was also very small. It was impossible for all the members to find seats here at the same time, so that when anything unusual was to be discussed, and all the members wished to be present, a member had to come very early to get a seat." When they came out again, the teacher pointed with his stick to one of the towers of the Houses of Parliament, saying, "If Parliament is sitting, that is, if the members are present in the building, a flag is to be seen at the top of that tower." A little later he continued, "Now we will go to another building, which I wish to show you today. It is the Tower, a very old castle situated in the central part of London." They went to have a look at it, and on the way Mr. Miller continued to explain. The tower was built by William the Conqueror, a Norman who became King of England and is nearly 900 years old. After the time of William the Conqueror, the English kings continued to live there for many years. Then they built another castle to live in, and now the tower has not been used by any king for hundreds of years. It has got its name from one of the towers of the building that is called the White Tower.